Hi there, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors at Manna House, and on behalf of Michelle and the kids and the family, I just want to thank you for driving out to Corbett. How many of you are glad the sun is behind some clouds so that we can endure? It's not nearly as warm as it was supposed to be. That's always good. Today is a celebration of life, and it means that we have a chance actually to laugh a little bit as well as to cry and to grieve. And I want to give you permission for that, permission to lean in and just be family and take in the day, and let's honor Luke and who he was, what he stood for, those good things that we're gonna reminisce about. It's okay if we laugh a little bit. And so I just want to say that up front. It's important, I think, for all of us to take that approach. And with that said, we're going to jump into a time of worship. As all of you know, Luke was a follower of Christ, and he did two things to us for today. He said, number one, I want to make sure you wear Ducks garb. I am a Washington Husky fan. I have some friends on staff with me who are huge Ducks fan. I took a picture of myself and I sent it to them. They were very proud of me. And so if you're not a Ducks fan, thank you for doing that. But the second thing is he wanted us to gather and to honor the Lord, because that's how he lived his life as well. So I'm going to pray and then we're going to worship. Heavenly Father, I thank you, honestly, for the opportunity to do this. God, I know in this season it has been a real challenge, honestly, to pull this off, and yet here we are. I'm so grateful that you made a way where there didn't seem to be a way, because that's the kind of God that you are. And we want to take some time here tonight to honor Luke's memory, but also to lift your name. And I just ask that in everything that is said tonight, you would be exalted and glorified. We thank you in advance in Jesus' name. Amen. I actually would invite you, if you're comfortable, to go ahead and stand as we sing together.
Luke was born on December 30th, 1977 in Portland, Oregon. He was the second child of Ed and Dee Bader. His only sister, Trudy, and him were close. It was love at first sight when she first met him. The cutest baby she had ever seen had the cutest chubby legs and big brown eyes. Trudy was always proud to show him off. His childhood was full of sports, playing, camping, and fun family vacations to Disneyland multiple times, the Grand Canyon, Redwood Forest, Hawaii in 1986, trips to Colorado and Oklahoma every year to visit their dad's side of the family, and many other states and trips. Mostly they camped, but not like camping you might have memories of. They camped for the purpose. The purpose was to find gold. Luke's dad had gold fever, and they started out in a tent and later thought they were living the high life when they got the 14-foot travel trailer, and after years of camping in the middle of nowhere with no running water and no electricity and no sign of other human life besides the four of them, they got to stay at the RV park with a pool. Luke loved water, loved floating on a floaty, and just being in every hotel you would find them in. You would find them until the pool was empty. He also loved his bath time, and he spent hours in the bath. When he was young, he played for hours with his Fisher-Price little people in the tub. He also played hours and hours outside in the neighborhood with his friends and his sister. In his cul-de-sac and neighborhood, he played touch football, cross-out baseball, basketball, riding his many big wheels that his mom and dad had to replace because he wore up the wheels. Later rode his bike, which he was a fast learner, and then would ride fast all over the neighborhood, participating in races and riding and marking ramps. He played hours of hide and seek, frisbee soccer, played army men and cowboys and Indians, building multiple forts, even letting Trudy dress him up as a clown and walk in her parade. Picnic lunches outside. He even sprained his knee jumping off the playhouse, and also broke his collarbone jumping over a garbage can. Luke loved swimming, swinging an axe, a bat, pillows, skipping rocks in the river. He was an active, strong kid. He loved wrestling with his dad and sister, but he quickly got stronger than Trudy, so she would just watch. On Sundays, Luke's mom had a rule that they couldn't have any friends over, so Trudy and Luke would play together for hours, making inside forts, playing racetrack, Fisher, Price, Little People, and Monopoly, Risk, checkers, and chess. In the early 80s, the family got an Atari. Luke and Trudy thought that was the best and thought for sure they must be rich. Luke quickly got better at video games, and when he got Nintendo, Trudy was only able to beat him in Pac-Man and occasionally the original Donkey Kong. They actually wrote down their scores and kept track of who won. They were very competitive, but it never got in the way of their closeness. Luke was a left-hander from the start, and he used it to his advantage in baseball. Luke's first organized child sport was at 6 years old, and he excelled at soccer. At 10, he started an exciting and successful baseball career. His dad, sister, and mom loved watching him play baseball. They cannot begin to estimate the time spent on practicing baseball and all the baseball games he played in. Their dad even bought a house with almost an acre with the sole purpose of building a legal-sized pitching mound and a batting machine and batting cage when Luke was 16. In his younger years, his mom and sister spent a lot of hours shagging balls for him. He was the best pitcher they had ever seen, and he made many all-star teams along with being recruited to play summer ball and seasonal baseball. Luke also played baseball for Portland Christian High School. He had hit many balls out of the field. His family was super proud of him, and they were at every game cheering him on and correcting any bad calls the umpire made. Luke's mom, Dee, says that one of her favorite memories is of Luke as a picture motioning his catcher to meet him at the mound. They assume they were talking about a baseball plan, but they think maybe he did it to scare the batter and was actually talking about what they were going to do after the game. Luke attended Park Rose Public School through 8th grade and attended Portland Christian for his high school years. Luke played football and baseball in middle school and high school. He was good at any sport he wanted to do, but what also made him a favorite pick was his personality. Luke had a smile that would win you over and a funny wit about him. He was quick with a pun or funny joke. Dee calls it the Thompson wit. Luke was also a good singer and dancer. Dee and Trudy would call him Luke of all trades because he could fix anything. He graduated with two honors. Two honors actually. Number 1, award in shop, and number 2, award in home education. Luke proudly wore the sought-after Hammer Award around his neck at graduation. Not only was Luke athletic and awesome at woodworking, his sister still has a cow step stool he made for her. He could sew and make pajama pants and shirts and cook. He could also work on cars. His family loved his red 1965 Mustang. He only let Trudy drive it once. Luke was a hard worker. He tore off his parents' tile roof in the middle of summer and re-roofed it like it was a piece of cake. He worked at Fred Meyer's for a while as a teen and then later as a roofer while going to Clackamas Community College. He thought about a career in architectural drafting or an electrician, but when he saw the position of a mail carrier come up, he knew that would be his dream job. He had a 9.5-mile walking route. He was very popular and had people waiting at the mailbox just hoping to see him and get one of his smiles. Luke was wise with his money and he was a saver. He purchased his first home at 25 on his own. He was brilliant at planning for the future. What Luke's family really wants to make clear today is how loving Luke was and that he loved Jesus. Luke became an uncle at 16 years old. He loved Jody, his first niece, like no other teenager would. He smiled ear to ear every time he saw Jody. When Lexi came, he was 19 years old. He was the first up at the hospital to meet her. Remember, he was a saver? That did not stop him from buying special things for his first two nieces. And then when his nephew Carson came, he took time off work to Eugene, Oregon to meet him. And the next 5 children Trudy had, he loved. He posted on social media about them and later cried and prayed for Hope, his 4th niece, during all her hard medical issues. Hope and Luke had a very special bond. They just clicked. Every time Trudy got pregnant and was expecting again, he was the first one that would say, "That's awesome, sis." He never would crack a joke about her having too many children already. Luke touched many lives with a smile and just being him. Luke had many gifts and talents, but what his family is the most proud of is his love for God and his family.
September of 1993 at Portland Christian High School. Luke was a sophomore and Michelle was a freshman. Although they noticed each other right away, they didn't date in high school. Michelle loved watching him play baseball and cheering him on, and Luke loved how cute Michelle looked in her cheerleading outfit. They had common friends and spent time together, but it wasn't God's timing yet for them to date. They had to learn some things on their own before coming together. Michelle and Luke had fond memories of taking home ec together and even raising flower babies together. In Michelle's yearbook, her junior year and his senior year, he wrote, "Rommel, as far as I am concerned, all of you juniors are really weird. I think it is pretty cool though. I hope someday you can find a guy who can keep a handle on you and stick around for a while." Little did either one know at the time that the guy to stick around was him. In 1996, Luke graduated from Portland Christian High School and began attending Clackamas Community College and working as a roofer. He soon after decided to pursue becoming a mail carrier and began that job, which he loved so very much. In 2002, Luke and Michelle ran into each other for the first time since high school. They're mutual friends. There was an instant connection. They went on their first official date on August 23, 2002, and were married almost exactly 1 year later on August 22, 2003. They had a beautiful wedding at the Queen Anne Victorian Mansion in a gazebo filled with twinkling white lights. Many people called it a fairy tale wedding. A few months after they were married, they found out they were expecting their first baby. Luke was overjoyed. He had always been so good with his nieces and nephews, and he was so excited to be a father. Soon after finding out about their pregnancy, Luke had a doctor appointment because he had been having pain in his ankle. Through x-rays and a biopsy, Luke and Michelle got the devastating news that Luke, at age 26, had a very rare bone cancer called mesenchymal chondrosarcoma. Like the true warrior he was, Luke faced chemotherapy with optimism and strength. His faith grew through this new health challenge. Many times his nurses would comment on his positive attitude and notice him reading his Bible. He endured many chemo treatments, but unfortunately it didn't work and he had to have his leg amputated just below his right knee. On May 7, 2004, Luke had his amputation. It was the hardest day he had known, yet. The pain was unbearable, but he pushed through. He learned to walk again and even held Michelle's hand while on crutches as she gave birth on July 7, 2004 to their firstborn son, Hayden Luke. The moment when Hayden laid on Luke's chest was the moment he had dreamed of his whole life, and he was overjoyed. Despite being told that it would be nearly impossible after chemo to have more kids, Luke and Michelle went on to have two more children, Haley Michelle, born on May 5, 2006, and Peyton Dean, born on January 29, 2008. Every year on May 7th, the family would celebrate another cancer-free year. Even though Luke's cancer was gone for the time being, his health problems were far from over. After his amputation, he bravely went back to work at the Gresham Post Office. He did this for a while, but eventually it was too much on his health and went on disability. Through the years of trials, his faith grew stronger. Many years when he was sick, he was reading the Bible in bed. He went to church whenever his health allowed and fought hard to be part of family events. He was so proud as his kids started to play sports. He was beyond excited when Hayden started t-ball. He loved that his son had taken a love to his favorite sport. He loved playing catch with all the kids in the backyard. He especially loved what the family so fondly called Lake Vader. Each summer, the family would put up a pool and Luke would be swimming in with a snorkel and taking the kids for rides on his back. It was the place the family would spend so much time together. Peyton also started playing baseball, and Luke loved pitching him balls in the backyard and helping him improve his swing. Peyton loved the time Luke was his third base coach, and Luke was as involved as his health would allow. Luke also loved the first time he realized the singing talent of Haley. She was in second grade singing Do You Want to Build a Snowman at a talent show. The audience and Luke and Michelle were blown away by the way she carried her voice and had such a huge stage presence. Luke always encouraged Haley in her singing and acting talents. No matter how much pain Luke was in, he would always hug and say goodnight to the kids. When they were young, he would read to them daily. He was such a good interactive dad. He built forts, played with cars, Legos, puzzles, and more, all on one leg and despite his pain. While Michelle was gone, his favorite thing he would give the kids was known as Daddy Toast, and he would do shadow puppets on the wall to entertain them for hours. Luke would take Haley every year to a father-daughter dance. This was always the highlight of her year. They would dance and laugh and eat marshmallows and chocolate fondue. They would sing and dance to Butterfly Kisses. In August 2017, Luke noticed that he was having unusual pain inside his body. He thought it was his liver, and he had a scan done. While scanning his liver, they noticed tumors on his lungs. In October of 2017, Luke and Michelle got the news that the cancer had returned after 13 years of being in remission. They sat down with the kids and explained what this meant. They were all very optimistic and believed in a miracle. Luke began chemo again. After a few years off and on treatment and seeking out clinical trials and every possibility they could, in June of 2019, the oncologist said he believed Luke had 6 to 9 months. He lived 11. Christmas was Luke's favorite time of the year. When the kids were young, he introduced them to Santaland at Macy's in downtown Portland. He loved cutting down the tallest tree his living room could handle. Even on his last Christmas, even though he was having a hard time breathing, he contributed to the cutting down of the tree. Luke and Michelle loved visiting the Queen Anne Mansion where they got married. It is decorated every year with thousands of twinkling lights and Christmas decorations. Luke also loved watching Christmas movies with the family. He especially loved Charlie Brown Christmas and Elf. Luke was a true romantic. He would often surprise Michelle with flowers and other gifts. One time she came home to his giant inflatable Oregon duck in the living room holding roses. He also took a label maker and put Luke Loves Michelle all over the house. He often left notes to surprise her. One time she went to her car and had a sign taped to the window that said, "I love my hot wife." His biggest and most romantic gesture came just a few weeks before he went to heaven. Years ago, Michelle had lost the diamond out of her wedding ring, and they didn't have the money to put a diamond back in, so they bought a less expensive ring and stored the original. This past May, Luke decided he really wanted to get a diamond put back in Michelle's original ring. On a beautiful day, they went together and picked it out. On May 13th, the ring was ready, and the whole family went to pick it up together. Luke presented it to Michelle as a special token of love. It was a beautiful moment that the whole family shared together. These moments were captured on video, and that is when we had the last picture all together. Luke was a huge Oregon Duck fan, if you can't see the evidence today. He had season tickets for 6 years for the football games, and would get up early, and each Saturday was all about football. His favorite season was fall. He loved the cooler weather, rain, and football. Last fall, despite Luke's pain, he made it to one of Hayden's varsity high school football games. He cheered as loud as his cancer-filled lungs could. He was so proud of everything Hayden did. Hayden scored an amazing touchdown, and Luke cried happy tears and said over and over, "That's my boy, that's my boy." After the game, he picked Hayden up, which should have been impossible for his fragile condition. The kids have countless memories of Luke being there for their events, despite all he was going through. He attended so many basketball, football, soccer, and baseball games. He was also a proud theater dad, as not only Haley but all three kids got involved in theater in the past few years. He didn't like musicals at all, but he loved seeing them on stage. Just before Luke was diagnosed with cancer again, he became an Uber Eats driver. The whole family loved when he would get an alert to take a job and couldn't wait to hear all about it when we got home. Luke always supported Michelle in all of her endeavors. He supported her entrepreneurial spirit and encouraged her in her writing. He watched the kids for hours so she could train and complete marathons. He would meet her at the end of races with all three kids, even if they were in their pajamas sometimes. Luke and Michelle prayed together and with the kids for a miracle, but realized the miracle might come in heaven and not on earth. In the last few months of Luke's life, their family got extra quality time because of COVID. When the kids would normally be at various after-school activities, they were home spending quality time as a family. They will always treasure the extra time that was given to them. While in quarantine, the family watched 44 movies together. They were together all day, every day. On Luke's last full day on Earth, the family had plenty of family time and a family group hug that even Bentley, the dog, joined in. On the morning of May 23rd, 2020, at age 42, Luke went quickly and peacefully, and he passed away. He never lost the ability to walk or eat and was still independent, and God let him skip the end stages of life. He was surrounded by his family and went to heaven while they sang the song, "I Can Only Imagine." Luke loved Jesus and his family more than can be put into words. His life is evidence of his love, and he will be forever in our hearts.
Thank you guys all for coming. It's so amazing to see so many faces, and this has been a true miracle during this season of life, COVID, to be here. So thank you, Crestview, for having us here, and just everybody who came. So I'm so excited about this next part. I wanted to find people from all different stages of Luke's life to come and share. And so we have 6 special speakers who are going to share. And I'm just going to say a little bit about each one in between. So the first speaker that we have is Luke's cousin, Jeff Watts. And I haven't really got the chance to know Jeff that well, but right before Luke passed away, we were filling out a book of memories. And he talked about who was your best friend in your family, and he talked about Jeff. And so I'm really, really excited to get to hear the memories that Jeff has. So Jeff, you can come on up. Thank you.
son of Nancy Kaiser. Better? Is that better? Check, check. I am the oldest son of Nancy Thompson Kaiser, the youngest of the 12 Thompson clan members. And my Aunt Dee is the second youngest, and we live 5 blocks away, roughly. And we were together all the time, Trudy, Luke, and I. He was definitely my little brother. I remember when he was younger, all he had was his diaper on and a big bottle of milk that was always refillable. No end in sight there. And there was never a lack of ketchup along with the milk. And of course, Aquanet. They had a wonderful, beautiful vehicle. It was a Ford Fairlane. And we took many, many numerous trips to Burgerville prior to other outings. And as we would eat, we wouldn't eat too many fries because there were holes in the bottom of the back floorboard. Trudy and Luke and I would drop fries down and jump back up and look out the back window, watch them fries bounce across the floor. They lived on 130th off Burnside in a kind of a little cul-de-sac area. We would chalk up the whole cul-de-sac with miniature cities and ride our bikes to get them fixed and go have lunch, all sorts of crazy things. And we'd have treats once in a while, deliver Domino's. That's when they didn't have much flavor, if you consider they do now. But that was always a special treat. And after we'd go to McDonald's, we'd usually swing by Kmart just to peruse around, because my mother and Aunt Dee loved going to Kmart. And of course, we loved going there as well. And that was usually prior to our trips to Grandma's house, where we would play and play, and of course, as children, not always obey, so we'd get quarantined on the couch and told to suck our thumbs. And along after the Burgerville outings, we'd go see Grandpa at his retirement home in Wood Village on a regular basis as well. So we were together daily, even though we lived only 5 blocks apart. Park Rose and David Douglas definitely had a strange district line, so prior to them going to Portland Christian, we never attended school together, but we were together daily. I became involved skateboarding, and before Luke became more of an athlete, we would skateboard together numerously. We would take them everywhere we went. We would go visit my Uncle Dave and Aunt Donna's pool during the summer. He had a wonderful pool. We'd spend many, many days basking in the sun in the pool. And I also became involved wearing polo by Ralph Lauren, as many of you know. And so did Luke. He followed in that footstep as well. And after Luke was born, we had an annual Chuck E. Cheese outing during Christmas to celebrate his birthday when all of our family was in town. And that continued on forever. It will continue on forever. Even with the changes, it's unlike the facility used to be. And then, of course, there were many, many annual beach trips with only the aunts and uncles, or aunts and cousins, and uncles were not able to be involved. So there were many, many, many memories at the beach. And when we got older, of course, we were interested in girls. So Luke and I would sneak out and hit the turnaround in the strip there in Seaside and do our magic, if you will. And I won't go into any other details of some of the stuff we might have done that my aunts would really not approve. We did take up golf. We took golfing lessons at Glenavere, and we play often, but we found ourselves searching for our balls rather than finding the green and the hole amongst it. So that was always a fun venture. Of course, there was always the kiddie pool. Him in his diaper and Trudy and I in our swim trunks. We'd dip in the pool as Uncle Ed would lather up and try to prove to everyone he's not a true Oregonian by getting his tan on. Luke was a great athlete. I watched him play a few times, not as often as I should have, as I was older at the time. But he did have the fastest pitching arm of anyone I had known. I love him, and I know where he's at, and I'm thankful to be considered his older brother. Thank you, everyone.
That was amazing. And he did write that in his book that he considered Jeff his older brother, so that's really special. But he never had one, but he did. So thank you for sharing. So as we heard earlier, Luke and I went to Portland Christian High School, and he, as we heard, was an amazing athlete. And today we have the privilege of hearing from his high school baseball coach. So I'm very excited to hear what Coach Dan Beaumont has to say about Luke and playing baseball. So please welcome Coach Beaumont.
Deal to get up here. I'm going to take that off because I don't want to lean over it. As you've already heard from several people already, Luke was a pretty good athlete, and he was a good baseball player. And I am sorry, I don't own anything with Oregon Ducks on it. Now, the other side is I don't own anything that's got orange and black on it, if you know what I'm saying. Okay? However, all of you, there's a few of you here who know me from Portland Christian, and forgive me if I don't remember all your names because I'm old. Okay? But I have a connection. What's the mascot of the Oregon Ducks? Donald Duck. Donald Duck is Disney. My room 6 at Portland Christian was covered in Disney posters. There you have it. Okay. So anyway, as I pulled out my old files of my old pictures of my baseball teams. I was a Portland Christian baseball coach for 18 years. And Luke was right in the middle of the mid-90s. And I had to look at the stats and look at some of the different things. And I remember when Luke first came out as a freshman in 93, I believe, it was pretty obvious pretty fast that he could hit. And every coach loves a hitter. Then I got a bonus. I found out he could pitch too. So Luke pitched and hit for 4 years, from 93 to 96. And he really excelled at hitting. I went back and did some math, which is a little scary for me. But Luke's 4-year batting average at Portland Christian was .302. Now, for those of you who know baseball, anything over 300 is very good. His senior year, he hit .357. So he could hit, and he pitched a lot of innings. And I thought about him as a player and thought, what word could I use to describe Luke? And I think my best one is determined. He competed well, of course, but he was determined not to make an out. Now, that's impossible in baseball. You're going to make some outs. But he was really, really focused when he was pitching or hitting, and if he didn't do well, he didn't like it. But then a lot of guys are that way. But it's also interesting. It's been 25 years since I coached Luke, and I thought, wow, somebody's getting old here. But I got to thinking, why is it some teams or games or players, they just stick in your head? You can't get rid of them. It might be, and I coached a lot of games, over 300 when I was there, and certain stories get repeated over and over again. And it just happens. And I've told this one about Luke to a number of people, and I don't know if it's my favorite, it's just one I tell a lot. But we were playing over at the coast. I want to say it was Neoconi, it could have been Warrenton, but anyway, one of the coast teams. And Luke was up early in the game. And Luke hit a ground ball. He didn't like to hit ground balls. He wanted to hit the ball a long ways. And his disappointment made him jog to first base. Now, Coach Beaumont didn't like to jog to first base. So Coach Beaumont sat player Luke on the bench, pulled him out, and I left him there for, I don't know, a few innings. And we were losing the game. We're down 1. Got to the 7th inning, and we got a runner on. And I thought, okay, I'm going to reinsert Luke, because you can do that in high school baseball. So his lineup spot came up, and I put him in that spot. And he proceeded to hit a 2-run home run, and we won the ball game. Now, I have told a lot of people that story, and I've tried to convince them that it was just good coaching that made that happen. But I'm yet to find a taker on that viewpoint. But Luke was a pleasure to coach, and we know there's baseball in heaven. You don't believe that? How does the Bible start? In the big inning. Okay, bad joke. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it for as long as it works. So anyway, it was truly my pleasure and my honor to coach Luke for those 4 years.
Just really excited to hear things from her perspective. Thank you, Jody.
See how long I can last before I start.
Congrats.
I'll just share a few memories that I have from him and even my sister. See, just looking back at home videos, he would do things like blow bubbles with us, you know, like a 2-year-old, and probably really annoying, but he didn't care. He still just sat there and would blow bubbles. And I was either watching his show, and he would just let me sit on his lap, and he would just let me be there with him. He taught me how to ride a bike and how to ride on roller skates. When he bought a computer way back when computers were new and cool, he even bought me and Lexi computer games so we could go down in his room and play the computer games, and that was so much fun for me because I didn't have a computer I played with. He would do things like let us jump on his bed, just be really obnoxious little kids. Like they kind of said in the eulogy earlier, he'd buy us clothes and buy us gifts. I had this big teddy bear for years. It's probably somewhere in the basement, but just things like that. Where, I mean, not every teenage boy does things like that for their nieces. I brought him to show and tell when I was in 1st grade. So I guess that kind of shows how much he meant to me and how kind he was, that I would want to take him to my class and say, this is my show and tell, you know. And then being able to be the candlelighter in their wedding, that was a really special privilege. So when I look back at all these things, just try to think of what does this show us and me about who he was. He was never annoyed. I never saw him annoyed with me or impatient. He was very patient with us, always smiling, just wanted us to be with him. I never felt like he wanted me to get away. You know, it was kind of like when I was done playing, he would just, okay, you can go, but he always welcomed me there. So he was such a kind and patient and gentle man, and I just definitely miss him.
Thank you, Jody. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. So is Dennis Hickox here? Okay, perfect. So I'm super excited. I'm going to introduce you really quick. I haven't seen you yet. So Luke worked at the Gresham Post Office, and he had a group of men that were mentors to him. He did Bible study with them, and it was right about the time when we started dating, and it was just amazing to see this group of men come around him and teach him how to grow up into a godly man, and so I'm really excited. Probably haven't seen you since our wedding. Look, all these people are showing up. So I would like to introduce Dennis Haycox to come up and speak about Luke.
Yeah, I worked with, can you guys hear me all right? I'm not used to this speaking. Michelle can be pretty persistent. Here I am. I worked with Luke at the Gresham Post Office, like she said, and we were great buddies, great brothers. You know, we spent a whole 10 minutes a day together, and this was pre-marriage, Luke, so there's probably some things I should keep to myself. No, you don't. Anyway, as she said, there was Rick and Brian and me, and we were the old guys, and here was this young, good-looking, great smile young kid coming in with the beautiful car and all this and that. We would talk, and it was mostly ducks. Mostly football, whether it was practice, the games, the season, spring ball, recruiting, whatever. It was just ducks for the most part. Brian and Rick were season ticket holders also, and so that was in their blood. We joked that we were old enough to be his dad, which we probably were, but and any advice, mentor, I don't know. Any advice he took from us, I apologize. I'm sure it probably wasn't the best. I heard him talk about early morning drives. Luke said he'd leave at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to a duck game. But Eugene's, 2 hours away? I guess he wanted to get a good spot. Anyway, he talked about those and his, like I said before, his little race car. He was always struggling at work because postal workers have to work Saturday. And he was trying to finagle, was he finagling, to get those Saturdays off because he had tickets. We remember talking, these 10 minutes that we had every day, it's amazing how in-depth we could get. But his excitement of getting married, buying his house, I remember those days. We used to give him a bad time because he lived way over in Vancouver. And he used to tell us it's closer than Portland. He used to get very defensive about being way, way over in Vancouver. I remember when he came to work and we were discussing the bump on his leg. And I think the first diagnosis was a bruise. And it's like, it seems to be more than that. And then the ultimate diagnosis of cancer, and then he had to go in for surgery. I remember visiting him in the hospital. I think that was probably the first time we met. And just a little side note, I know this is a celebration of Luke. At that age, they had this little bed, and she was there. She stayed 24/7 with her husband, or soon-to-be husband. Were you married? And you talk about love. This woman needs a hand. I mean, a round of applause. And just to see that, we all have wives that we look up to and stuff, but this woman was a true example of a wife. What else do I have? I remember when he had his surgery and he came back to work with a prosthetic leg, his right leg, the driving leg. And he's driving a postal rig, and I don't know if it was 9.5 miles. I mean, he might have bumped it up a little. But anyway, you're getting in and out of the truck. You got packages all day, you got mail, you got block boxes. He's on this leg that was killing him. He used to just talk about the pain. And he did that whole route, and he did it for quite a while, and he finally, they worked it out so he could go away on disability and stuff. And I was just very impressed that this guy with this leg was doing this job. One of our last communications, I got a call, and the caller ID pops up, and it's Luke Bader. And I picked it up, and we talked, and we talked probably for an hour. And I don't even remember what we talked about. We just talked. And it's one of the best memories I have of him. And if I can figure this out, this is mostly for Mark, but back in the day, Luke had a ringtone on his phone. And if I can, like I said, if I can get this to work. Is it loud enough? Can you hear it? I'm trying to stop it. Anyway, he had this ringtone on his phone, which it's a Duck fan. It was UW. What are you going to say? We called that, because there were a few Dub, Husky fans in the office. We called that. Oh, stop. We called that phone, I don't know, half a dozen times that one day when he told us about that. And, it's a memory I'll never forget. If you want, I'll play it again. Anyway, I loved Luke. He was great.
Thank you. I completely forgot that was his ringtone, but now I remember.
When I was planning for this, I thought, oh my.
Yes, I remember that now. Okay, thank you so much. So, our next speaker is from when Luke and I were first married, and we were both involved in a Bible study. And Mark Dahl was part of our Bible study, and he was there while Luke was going through the amputation and all of that. And I would love to hear some memories from Mark. So come on up. Thank you.
So my first memories of Luke were mostly encouragement. I just remember him always being willing to say hi to me at church, going out of his way to come and be a part of my life, so to speak. And probably my biggest memory, though, is that he was on the church's softball team for a while, and I was the backup of all the backups. So I was I was not picked to be on the team, but if nobody else could play, then they would let me in. And so but he was always just, man, Mark, great job. If ever I was in, I only remember us ever playing in one game together. And he just was always like, man, great job. Way to run after the ball or whatever. Because I played left field. I was, yeah. And anyway, probably one of the biggest things that I remember, though, was when he first found out about the cancer and things like that. I was having to play more for obvious reasons, and anyway, the coach had told him about a game that I happened to play well in. You get lucky every once in a year or something, and he was just so in my face and just like, man, great job. I'm so glad you did that. And that's what I remember. I remember his encouragement to me, and he loved Michelle. I do remember that. Those are probably my biggest memories. And he just had a faith. He really believed that, I can't remember your name now, but I remember him when he first said he was going to get his prosthetic. He was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be able to play softball again and all that. And I just remember being so proud of him to go through that and have that courage. And then when he got it and found out that, oh man, that's just way too much pain and I can't do it, I just remember feeling that, oh man, I want to encourage him in his life as much as he encouraged me, and hopefully I do that to everybody around me. I wanted to be the best encouragement and to take that example and be that for my friends. So thanks.
Thank you, Mark. It's so fun to hear memories that I've never heard before. So the next person that is going to speak is very special to our family. She was the last person that was let in to see what was really going on, and she was Luke's hospice nurse, and she is such a blessing from God, and she was so encouraging to him, and just I have so many memories of her just encouraging, holding his hand and say, we're going to get through this, I'm going to help you. So I would love to have Stephanie Montes, is that your last name? Stephanie Montes, come on up. We didn't usually use last names. We talk. I don't do this. When Michelle had asked, it's like she has this voice that you can't say no to, you know? So stay away, you know? What an honor it is to be here, to be invited, to be able to be a part of this day and this incredible life of celebration of Luke. You just got through sharing how much of an encourager he was. When we talk about perseverance, all I could hear about was like how he persevered even through the pain. How he persevered every time that you saw him. When I first met Luke, I saw this big guy, this big, beautiful smile, his eyes that shine. Every time Michelle would just barely walk in the room. When he stands, when he first stood, I saw a man with a prosthetic leg. A man who may appear sick or is known for his cancer diagnosis. But Luke was so much more. And I saw a man with a big, big heart. Luke was not a man of his circumstances. He is a child of God. He is the Son of Jesus Christ. He was not merely dying. He was living. He was persevering and trusting in God with all his might. You see, he should have died years ago, but he didn't. God had other plans for him and his family. God provided for his family of faith. God nurtured his family. He provided the right people to be in their lives at the right time. God could be seen even when Luke was afraid, when he was frustrated, pained by his disease, the pain and loss he was feeling. God's presence can be felt as I entered into the room to touch Luke. There was not a visit that we did not discuss how great God is, how God has a plan. Even though Luke would share he was not ready to leave, as his desire was to be here for his kids, he knew that the same God caring for him would care for them as well. As most of you know, there's Michelle, that he loved and adored so much. The one who God has placed in this world for a purpose to live a life of compassion. A life that she would lead her to desire who God is and her desire to do God's will. Luke would always share how he was so lucky to have her. I also had the opportunity to meet Dee, Luke's mom. Her love for her boy is so evident. The love you can see when you see her look at him, and through her eyes you can see a boy that she adored and protected and only wanted to have the best for him. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. God gave us the blessing through Luke and Michelle as Hayden, Haley, and Peyton. The glow, the smile he shared when he spoke of the memories they shared.
And my favorite memory to this day is always the last beach trip that you did. The last beach trip of getting to witness Peyton's first sunset. The pictures that you had shared were beyond words for me. Over the course of time, I was blessed to reflect just to know that I had the opportunity to know them intimately. As I reflect back, I can see how God has placed all the pieces of the puzzle together. God has His plan that none of us know about. I have learned that the best things that God is doing to do in our lives is not on our schedule. It is on His schedule. On May 23rd, the Bader's unscheduled blessing came into play. God came for Luke and removed all the despair in his life. I was gifted to witness Luke's last minutes of life with his family beside him. I can hear the kids encouraging him. I can see Luke staring out. The vision I can see is the light that so many people share they have seen. Throughout my years, I've experienced the witnesses, God's presence, and seen Him comfort His children. I can feel the peace that is there as they take their last breath. The song that I have to share today is just one. I'm just going to literally read for the word. It's by Evolution Church. And all I could do is think about, what would you do if He walked in this room? What would you say? If He walked into this room, how would you praise if He walked into this room? How would you shout if He walked into this room? In closing, you can imagine when it is that time, can you already see yourself jumping into the arms of Jesus? A place of complete joy, love, and peace. Today I can feel that the King is in this place. Your provider is in this place. Your champion of champions is in this place. He is here with each one of us. We bring glory to God in the way that we live to do each thing in our lives, through the way we embrace the situation and people around us that makes us children of God. I celebrate Luke's life as he persevered through the challenges he faced. He had dreams and plans to be with his beautiful wife and children. He made memories. Through his life, he left them a beautiful example of trusting God through trials of different experiences. This equips them to provide love to others who are experiencing what they lived through. How God blessed them through their unexpected blessings in life as they reflect on the memories that were made with Luke. I was so lucky to be a part of this family for the last year. I've grown to love Michelle and the kids and Luke. They have embraced me so much through these last several months. And I can't thank you enough for the honor and pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. So it's so interesting that it's starting to rain right now. Luke's favorite thing was rain. So it rained the day of his graveside service, and it's raining now, which is just amazing. So it's interesting that the theme is perseverance. We didn't even talk about that, but that's what my title is about. It's because that is when I was thinking about what is the biggest quality that Luke had, and I would say it's perseverance. So I'm just going to share a few things with you that I saw in Luke. So it's been quite the journey, and I look at this place, this beauty, and I'm just so thankful to be here, and I'm thankful. It was actually Haley who shared with me the other day when I said, "What do you do when you're sad about Daddy?" And she said, "I just remember he's free." And that helped me so much that when I start getting sad, I just remember that he's not hurting. We're the ones who are having a harder time. Once I remember he's good, then I can be like, okay, it's okay. So, first of all, this camp is very special to me. If you don't know, I went to a grief retreat here about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, not like 3, not even that long ago. And then God worked it all out, and we're here today. And a lot of healing happened for me when I was here. I asked God to take away the memory of Luke's death, like the part that was really hard for me, but instead of taking away, he changed it. He gave me such a peace that Luke was not in pain, that, you know, he saw Jesus went to heaven. I mean, this whole beautiful vision that he gave me. And so it's very special to be here to share with you in this place where I received the healing. So perseverance is defined as continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. It is also known as Luke Bader. I want to share with you today more insight into the perseverance and faith my husband had. Number one saying that the kids would know, Baders don't give up. That was something that we taught them since they were born. Baders don't give up. And it was so cute when Luke, he had to fix everything, like couldn't leave anything, and he's like, I gotta do it. And he would say every time when he fixed something, I win, he did it. He, as we've heard, some of this is repeats, I don't have to say it again, but he never gave up on baseball or football field. He never gave up on his pursuit of anything. And something that's kind of cute that he would joke about, that right before we got engaged, I was really pursuing him. He was pursuing me too. But I actually, I don't know if my parents remember this, but we actually went on a tour of the place I wanted to get married before we were engaged. And Luke told me, do you know how awkward that was for me? I hadn't even asked your dad if you were going to marry me, if I could marry you. And we went and looked at the place to get married. And it was just cute. I just had that memory the other day that he told me how awkward that was. He had such a positive attitude when first diagnosed with the cancer. He had to be, if you don't know, 5 days in a row, 24 hours a day getting chemo at 26 years old. And he did it like a champion. The nurses always commented on how he was reading his Bible. He has such a positive attitude. I remember being very pregnant, getting up on the bed with him while he's having his chemo, and he was just so positive. His amputation day, as you can imagine, was one of the hardest days of our lives, but we tried to go into it saying, you're not losing your leg, you're losing the cancer. And so that's what was our cancer-free day for a lot of years. And so he was so brave, and he was amazing, and he had to learn to walk again. And that was really hard for him, but he did it. He put one foot in front of the other and had such a positive attitude. He had diabetes and many, many other health problems throughout the years, but he persevered. It was his family and God and faith that kept him going. The day that we heard about his cancer again, I remember very clearly coming in, and he's sitting at the computer, and we saw the scan results. We cried, but then he quickly made a plan of how we're going to go forward, how we're going to, persevere through treatments and facing our nightmare for a second time. So where did his strength come from? As you probably know, Luke had a deep faith in Jesus. He drew his strength daily from his prayer time and reading the Bible. The last few nights, every night when he'd come to bed, he'd open up his Bible app and we'd talk about the verse of the day and we'd read that. It was in the quiet moments that no one saw that he grew his deepest faith. His favorite place to pray was in the bath. And that was just his place to be alone and pray and draw his strength. The hardest thing Luke persevered through was the thought of leaving his family. He had a really hard time even talking about that. But he persevered through that and was able to push through. He helped gather memories. We have lots of memories in this memory book for the kids. It has so many amazing things in it. So even though it was hard for him, he did it. 2 days before he passed away, he was sitting at his recliner crying and talking about that he was sorry he had to leave us. And he thanked me for being his wife and loving him. And that was so special to me that he took the time to thank me during all of this. He was always thinking of his family, even in his deepest pain. The last few weeks of his life, we picked out gifts for all the kids for their birthdays. And we were thinking ahead of special things for them. The past past few years, we were blessed with so many special gifts and trips. Amazing. I just want to tell you these because they're so amazing. Most of these, almost all of them, we did not pay for. People provided for us. God is so amazing. So one of Luke's dreams was to go up in a helicopter. About 2 years ago, we got to go up in a helicopter in Seaside, and that was so beautiful. He got to go twice with me and Haley and then with the boys. He absolutely loved that. Great Wolf Lodge, I think we went there 3 times, which is a very expensive place, but they were gifts from people. He loved going to the arcades with the kids and playing with them there. Silverwood, that was our first big trip. Going to a theme park. He absolutely loved it. I posted some videos the other day. He was right there with the kids going up on the high ride that drops you down, and he just went right in there doing the rides. Disneyland, thank you, Dream Foundation. So Dream Foundation is an organization that gives final wishes to terminal adults. It's the only one around. So a friend put me in connection with them, so they paid for our trip to Disneyland, and the people donated for extra costs on top of that. So one of my favorite things, there's a video that's up there that you can watch later. I'm also going to post it if you don't have time to watch it today. But at the end, he's in a scooter and he's in front of the Disney castle, and he raises his arms and said, "I made it, world!" And he was so excited to share that memory. It was our first time all being on a plane together, and it was just an amazing memory. The Shiloh Inn at Seaside, that's like Luke's favorite place because he grew up going to Seaside, and so we would go to the Candyman and all the places, the arcades, and he was like a little kid when we were there. Like, he loved it. We got to go to an Oregon Duck game and like go on the field and tour the, what's it called, center? Mashosky or something? Yeah, we got to tour where a couple days before Luke's birthday, which was December 30th, he said, "I'd like to go to a Blazer game and sit down," I think it's called courtside, where you're down really low. And obviously I don't know as much about sports as he did, but those ones that are way down there, he said, "I've never done that. I would like to do that." Posted on Facebook. Within about 2 hours, someone I don't know gave us 6 tickets. So that was amazing. So on December 29th, I believe was the day before his last birthday, we got to all go to the Blazer game together, including Jace, which was amazing to have our nephew with us too. The last amazing thing, Stephanie referenced a little bit, we were having a conversation in April. We were set to go to Seaside for spring break, but everything shut down. But she said to me, "If you guys are wanting to go," because Luke said, "I want to see the Pacific one more time." And he said, she said, "If you want to go, you should do it now. He's getting worse." So put it out there, and someone provided this big, huge house, 3 stories, 4 stories? I don't know. 3 stories. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and it was so big and beautiful. It was a view of the ocean, and then we got to go down to Rockaway Beach and take pictures, and we got to go to the ocean one more time. We celebrated Easter. It was Easter when we were there. And so that was a special memory we will never forget, being able to be together on Easter at the beach. So that was amazing. So you can see all the ways that God has provided for us. I mean, yes, we are sad and mourning him, but God is so much bigger. Like Romans 8:28, we have it on our wrists, on our Luke Strong bracelets. Yeah. God works all things together. Maybe I have it on, I don't have it written, but God works all things together for those who love the Lord. Something like that. It's in your program. But that one. That all things, not some things. And it's just been absolutely amazing to see that Luke's life has touched, I think, thousands over how many years he's been dealing with cancer. And Luke was also a very private person who married a very public person. But he saw this, we talked about this early on. I was on a run one day, right before his cancer came back, and God said, "You're going to go through something, and I want you to do it publicly." And so I talked to him about it, and he's like, "You know what, if it helps people, and there's more prayer, sure." And so it's amazing to see all the lives that we don't even know that his life has touched, and that makes me so happy. Another dream, and I'll wrap it up here, and we're going to hear from Haley in just a minute. Luke had always wanted a dog, never had a dog, and he told me, "When I have about 3 months left, I want to get a dog." And it was actually 3 months to the day. We got Bentley, our golden doodle, on February 22nd, and May 22nd was his last full day on earth, so it was exactly 3 months. It's just crazy the things that God did. And he's now such a comfort and joy to us. And it's also special because he was special to Luke. He persevered to be the best dad and husband possible, as we heard about earlier. I won't tell the whole story about the ring again, but it was absolutely touching what he did for me. And that day, we had seen Stephanie, and he was not doing good that day. and he almost threw up in the car, and he pushed through and he persevered so that he could get me a new diamond. Amazing. He had goals for how long he wanted to live. He would set them, and he always tried to make the next one. His last appointment, 3 days before he went to heaven, Stephanie said, we need to bring in a hospital bed, and he said, nope, just like that. Do you remember that? Nope. And so he didn't want that. Guess what? He didn't have to have that. He didn't have to have that. God just let him skip those last stages. So Stephanie said, conserve your energy for what you really want to do what you want to do with your time. And I was in the bath, I got out, and I'm like, where's Luke? I hear yelling. He's outside sitting on a chair watching Hayden play basketball and cheering him on. That's my boy, that's my boy. And we have videos of it. It's so sweet. That was just a couple days before. Our last night together, we did family time. Like we said, with COVID, we watched 44 movies. We were together all the time. And we had a family show. It was our normal family thing. I asked him to come to bed early, and God just gave me a sense to be with him. Like I sat with him extra time, said come to bed early. We watched some silly show, and he never, this is something that looked very independent, never asked me to cook for him, anything. The last night he goes like this, he puts his finger on his chin, he's thinking, and he said, would you make me a cheese sandwich? This is about midnight, 12:15. And I go, you mean a grilled cheese? And he's like, yes. I go, what the hey? That's what he did, just like that. What the hey? That sounds good. He was very, very great sense of humor, and very funny, especially at the end. So I made him a grilled cheese sandwich, which was very special for me to get to make him something. We watched it, and I said, we've never eaten in bed before. He's like, no, we haven't. And then I go, this is our best date ever. He goes, yeah, this is our best date. And that was the first night in months that I fell asleep peacefully. And then God took him the next morning. And I feel so blessed to be there and to have that time. And at this camp, right here in front of a cross, God told me that I was chosen. This is not like I'm punished and my husband is gone. No, I was chosen to hold his hand from I do until he goes to heaven. And it was a privilege. And I am so thankful that I got to be his wife, and that I get to continue his legacy and continue telling his stories and continue talking about him, knowing he's good. Like, God gave me this vision about a month before he passed away. I was listening to the song, The Blessing, and I was crying, and I saw Luke running. He looked just like high school, running in high school, like into the arms of Jesus, and then running on a baseball field and a football field, and God gave me that vision. And when I was here, God gave me a vision of him peacefully going to heaven. That it wasn't suffering. Jesus was literally in the room. I saw it in a vision, and took him to heaven, and he was peaceful, even though he had to leave his family, because I have struggled with how can he be happy without us in heaven. It's hard to comprehend. But he was peaceful and knew it was okay to go. And so that was such a miracle that I was able to see that blessing. Luke had so many amazing qualities, and I miss him so much, more than words can be expressed. But he was suffering so much in the end as the cancer filled his lungs and body. I take so much comfort knowing he is pain-free. Luke, my loving husband of almost 17 years, on the 22nd, taught me so much about persevering. And though life without him is nothing I ever wanted, I will persevere and learn to not only survive, but thrive and be the best mom that I can be. I love you, Luke. Really quick. So, Haley is our 14-year-old daughter, total daddy's girl. She's an amazing singer. And she wrote a song, so if you're not crying already, this might be the time. For her dad, she sang part of it at his graveside service, and then she's worked on it and added more to it. And I think you're really going to be blessed. The words are inside of the program also, if you would like to see.
So I wrote this song for my dad, and it's called Gone But Free, because I know that he's not here anymore, but I know that he's not sad and that he's free in heaven running around. So I hope you like it. was like only yesterday. Everything was going our way. We watched old shows, you tickled my toes, and everything was a-okay. We did not know a light ahead, but I felt safe when you tucked me in bed. We played old songs, we got along, and knew there was nothing to dread. But now you're gone, but now you're gone, and I don't know what to do. But now you're gone, but now you're gone, and I think I can't go through without you. I know that you can have no fear, 'cause you're there instead of here. You shine so bright, you are my light, even though you aren't near. You are my angel dancing high. You are running there in the sky. You have no pain, you have regained, though it's hard to say goodbye. And now you're free, and now you're free, and you have no worries now. And now you're free, and now you're free, and I know you're super proud. You're proud of me. And when I'm feeling down and think it cannot be, I just remember and know that you are free. Now you're free, now you're free, and you have no worries now. And now you're free, and now you're free, and I know you're super proud. You're proud of me. Thank you.
Why don't you guys do me a favor and just stand up for a quick second, because if you're like me, you're hurting right now. Haley, I've been to a lot of funerals because I'm a pastor. I've never heard a child sing. That was fantastic. You can stretch just for a minute, and then I'll have you be seated. I promise I won't be long. As you've seen the program, I'm supposed to give some thoughts. It's only 27 points. I promise it won't. You can be seated for a quick minute, and then we'll actually head up for dinner in a little bit. You know, as you've heard today, Luke was somebody who followed Jesus. I think that fact is abundantly clear. And really what I want to do is I want to explain a little bit about who he is. I mean, who is Jesus? Now, if you're a church person, I hope this is refreshing. If you're not, I want you to hear what I say and take it in as a thought, an appeal. Am I not loud enough? Oh. I was taken to a story in the book of Matthew, and there are 4 books in the Bible that give the story of Jesus: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew is the first, and there's a really cool story in Matthew chapter 11 where we actually see the humanity of Jesus in a really powerful way, because he's frustrated. And he'd been in some towns and had done miracles, and people had been healed, and amazing things had happened. And the town basically didn't care. They didn't do anything. The people that he prayed over and ministered to individually, they were over the moon. They thought it was unbelievable, but nobody else really did anything. There was such an apathy. And he just in his frustration, he started to talk about who he really is. And I want to share these words with you. This is Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. This is Jesus in a moment of frustration when he says this. He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." I don't know if you are like me, but this is a season of frustration between COVID, all of the racial conversation, all of the separation, masks, craziness. And then here we are today as a celebration of life for somebody who's no longer with us. I think that we could be people who carry heavy burdens. I think it would be easy to feel that way to some level or to some degree. And what I sense is that God, even as he looks down on us and as he interacts with us, we might think that he's frustrated with us or even mad at us. But he's actually never like that. In his frustration, what are his words? Just come to me. Let me show you who I really am. Let me pour out my love, my grace, and my strength upon you. Let me show you what love is really all about. And it's about taking the burdens that we carry upon himself. He carries them for us. And then in its place, he gives us this yoke, this burden that is super easy to carry. It is light. It's a freedom that we can walk in. And we can walk in that this side of heaven as well. I think here today there's actually two types of people. There are those of us who at some point in life have said, you know what, Jesus, I want to know you, and I want to follow you, and I want to give you my burdens and allow for you to give me that easy burden in its place. And then there are those who have not. And if you're somebody today who has not, if you've maybe never allowed him to be in your life like that, can I just make an appeal to you and just say this? There are a lot of us here who have done that. And if you would ever want to have a conversation about that, then later today or at some point in the near future, find one of us and say, will you tell me more about that? I want to know about a God who in frustration just says, come and let me make things easier for you. That sounds like a pretty amazing God to me. But it's not just that kind of a person who's here. There's a lot of us who have chosen to follow Christ. And again, maybe you're like me and you're starting to feel the weight of burdens upon you. I feel them. I feel them as a pastor. We had church today. We had, 120 people. Man, we would have 1,000 people a weekend at the church that I pastor at. And right now we're having meetings with 110, 115. I mean, it has changed a lot. And that, in addition to so many other things, I've got a senior in high school this year, a junior, I've got an 8th grader, I've got a 5th grader. They carry weight. There's burdens that are upon us. And I need to be reminded, and I think we all do, that life can get that way, but man, we serve a God who never remains frustrated, but instead just extends his hands and says, will you just come to me and let me carry that for you so that I can, in its place, give you these things that are so easy to carry. If you're a Christ follower today, just take one step closer to the Lord. If you've never allowed him in, man, I encourage you to explore that and maybe just open up your heart and see if he might do that for you as well. Can you just bow your head? I'd like to pray over us and the food that we're going to have for dinner in just a moment. Father, I thank you for today. What an honor it is. I appreciate it very much. Stephanie's heart. It's an honor to be here and an honor to be a part of this today. Lord, I pray that your love for us it would be so real to every person who's hearing my voice right now. God, we would totally understand and recognize to the very best of our ability that you're for us, you're not against us. And that you love us more than we could fully understand this side of heaven. And I pray for your grace on every person who's here. I pray for your grace to be on Michelle, upon Hayden and Haley and Peyton, and upon the rest of the family. God, I know that they have drawn strength from you. They're going to need that not only for today, but in the days ahead as well. And I thank you in advance for your faithfulness to that. Thank you that even in frustration, when people aren't responding to you, your message remains the same. Here I am, just come to me. God, we love you, we honor you, and we thank you for who you are. You are a good God. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, just by way of practicality, there's a couple of things I want to share with you. Number one, there's a full dinner. It's going to be right up here on the grass. Number two, in the program, there was a card. And Michelle would love for you to fill out some more memories and leave them. There's a basket in the chapel over here where the memory tables are at. So begin to fill that out. There's pens. I was supposed to say that at the front end and I forgot. So during dinner, go ahead and fill that out. That would be fantastic. And I just want you to know that God's for you. And I'm really, really glad that you came here today. And I'm really glad that the wind picked up and it got even cooler. And we can enjoy dinner. You know what? Thank you. God bless you. Have an amazing rest of your night.